Have you ever wondered how much profit soft play centres make, like this one that I own? I built up a big chain of them over the years, and they can be devilishly difficult to actually make money from, like any leisure and hospitality business. But I've worked up a little trick that I've got up my sleeve that turns them into commercially profitable enterprises by sweating the asset. Want to find out more? It's all coming up in this video. Let's do it. Let's go back in time 18 years now, and I'll tell you how this deal come to pass. I'd set up an indoor play centre in 2007. I was 21 years old as a gigging children's entertainer and magician, and I would go to people's houses and village halls and do birthday parties, and I wanted to bring the party to me so that I could leverage my time rather than doing one party at a time, 5, 10, 15 parties a day. That made much more business sense to me, and I wanted a day off and I wanted to employ a team to run the business. So I built a personal brand that allowed me to build a very successful, profitable indoor play centre back in 2007. The bank said, "Wow, James, this is really impressive." And they lent me £300,000 and I bought this indoor play centre. Now, it wasn't like this. It was run down, it was ruined, but it was in a great location. And one of the best things about business is location, location, location. I chose this site in Wembley because there was tons of chimney pots, tons of customers, and that was very attractive to me. There was also a good deal on the rent. So I bought the business, refurbed it and renamed it Partyman World and started to build up a chain of indoor play centres. Things went really, really well. This was a very profitable site. We made around £80,000 to £100,000 a year. But that wasn't enough. I still had to find a way of turning it into £250,000, £300,000 worth of profit site. And I came up with a trick, which I'm going to tell you later on in the video, that allowed me to turn this into something that was an okay business, making £80,000, £100,000 a year, into something that was really, really good. I put all my systems and processes into the business and built this wonderful brand. Now, before we break down the numbers and the story further, let's really understand where the revenue streams come for this particular leisure and hospitality business. And it really comes down to three main areas. Now, the first one is birthday party revenue. This is a serious percentage of the income that these types of businesses generate. You can see here they're setting up for a slime party, but they also do other types of parties: play parties, make a bear parties, arts and crafts parties, football parties, all types of parties generate lots of the revenue. Now, the second one is admissions, people actually coming through the door for a play day or a day out. But it's quite seasonal. You get lots of money at weekends and school holidays, and you get some big lulls in the off-peak times. So we're going to talk about that later when we go through the numbers. Now, there is a third revenue stream. Let's find out what it is. And that's obviously food and drink. We sell loads of crisps, slush, chicken nuggets and chips and paninis, Rossi Ice Cream, Rossi Slushes and Rossi Coffee. So that's how most soft play centres make money. But actually, when you look at businesses, the best businesses have great models, and you need to try and tweak the model for maximum profitability. Now, later on in the video, I'm going to break it down on a whiteboard of how I've tweaked the model to get 2 bonus revenue streams into my ecosystem to make sure that these survive. Hospitality and leisure businesses have horrific failure rates. Most of them are gone within a couple of years. This site has been here for over 2 decades, previous to my ownership and including my ownership. So what have I done differently to make sure that this becomes the unicorn, the exception to the rule? So the big question we want to remind ourselves is, do soft play centres actually make any profit? But also I want to broaden it a little bit to more in the round when we're talking about leisure and hospitality business. Lots of entrepreneurs, business owners want to open that coffee shop, that restaurant, that bowling alley. And really, when we look at that, I think there's 3 points to discuss. Number one, what's the labour and what's the costs of running a venue location-based business? Number two, why do so many businesses fail? Well, overheads are one of the problems, and economies of scale, which we're going to come back into. And number three is, why is it that some coffee shops, that some restaurants, that some hotels, that some soft play businesses do make money? What are the unicorns, the exceptions to the rule? And that really comes down to models over here. And I want to discuss multiple revenue streams that fold into the existing empire. What I've been doing through my whole career in all of the businesses that I've got my tentacles into that have mean that they can survive the horrific failure rates that most businesses in all sectors face. Let's start now on labour and costs. What is it that takes all the turnover? Well, so say you've got £1 coming in to your play centre, 20% of that pound will go to the VAT costs. You're going to spend around 35% on labour. If your business is doing in leisure and hospitality sub 500,000 of revenue, if you get the 500,000 of revenue up, million and a half, you will start to see economies of scale in your labour. It's like any good restaurant. If you're running a restaurant, you've only got 50 seats in your restaurant, you're going to find that very difficult to make money. You just don't have the economies of scale. You need one chef looking after a 50-seater restaurant as much as a 150-seater restaurant. Yes, you might have your commis chef and your second chef, but your head chef, whether you've got 150 seats or 50 seats, you will get economies of scale in that top management level of labour, and usually attract better people because they want to go and work for the bigger businesses with the bigger opportunities. Same with hotels. 12-bedroom hotel, devilishly difficult. 50-bedroom hotel, that reception, that night porter, that person that sets up breakfast, that general manager, all the economies of scale kick in with more rooms. In my research of running lots of businesses, 35% labour of your turnover now seems to be the norm because of horrific turnover taxes that governments keep putting on. When I started out in 2007, we was hitting 25% labour costs, but because of higher national insurance, because of higher wage costs, that 35% seems to be the new norm. Now on some days you might get it down to 10% if everything's going like gangbusters, but there's lots of lull days, off-peak days, which really eat into your labour bills, and that's why you should be tracking it on a daily basis. The biggest cost in most businesses walks on two legs, and labour can be the thing that kills you. 20% that, 35% labour. Then you've got these other turnover taxes, which could be business rates, green levy tax. You've also then got corporation tax, employers' national insurance contributions, all of these other taxes. So I would say another 10% for taxes there. So 35, 55, 65% of your turnover already gone. Then you've got food costs, utilities costs, you've got finance if you've got any loans, interest on that. All of that eats into your profits, and that's why that magic rule that if you can keep 10% of your turnover, you're doing very well. Not a lot of businesses are now keeping 10%. I would say most are keeping between 2 and 5% if they're profitable. But just because of government turnover taxes, they're just eating into it more and more. How do you get that 10% up? If you are very attractive and you get to that magic, you're keeping 20%. Usually you find it's economies of scale that get you that, the bigger play centres, the bigger restaurants, the bigger hotels, for example. So that just goes over some brief costs. So that business that you saw there, Wembley, we would turn anywhere between 500 and 600,000 pounds per year just on the play centre. Now the rent, oh, I forgot the rent. If that was a standard rented site, you'd probably be paying 150 to 200,000 pounds a year rent as well. A huge cost on the business. Now I own the freehold of that business, so I've got a mortgage and I've been paying that mortgage for years now, so I'm building up a capital asset. That is a very smart model that I'm not going to talk about later, so let's just bring that up now. If you've got rent and you can convert it into mortgage to actually own the property at the end of your tenure when you get to retirement, so you know, I bought that when I was 25, I think I bought that. I'm now nearly 40. Another 5 years, it will all be paid off, that mortgage. That's a big, chunky amount of real estate, plus you get to control so that rents never go up. Yes, you might say interest rates go up, but you could fix your loans, for example. So you've got a chunky amount of rent and overhead that comes off of there, plus your wages, plus. Like I say, you get that to a business that makes 80 to 100,000 pounds a year. That's okay, but then you've got your corporation tax off of that. And right now, because we're quite a big business, we'll pay 25% of that off. And maybe want to put new flooring in or new equipment. And all of that can be eaten up very quickly in repairs, renewals, new equipment, capital expenditure, corporation tax. God forbid, actually paying the director, the owner of the business any money. And you can see where that gets sucked up pretty quickly. That's why you want to aim for this magic number, 250,000 to 300,000 pounds worth of profit per location, so that you can invest in the business, actually make some money, Pay your corporation tax. And if you have a tough year, say something goes wrong, you get someone steal from you, you have a disaster, a period of low trading or whatever it is, you've got enough fat on the bone to keep the business going for a long time. If you get restaurants making or hospitality and leisure businesses, this is the aim, to make this sort of money. And then if you get 10 of them, then all of a sudden you've got a £2.5–3 million turnover revenue business. And that was always my aim to do with my business. The problem is, very hard to do that in hospitality and leisure unless you've got big scale. So what I did was now look at improving the model. Anyone that's watched my content, I talk about this more and more because this is probably my biggest learning over 20 years. You can have a go, you can do some good stuff. And if you can just tweak the models, profitability can be much more exciting. This green box represents my indoor play centre, the footprint of my indoor play centre. Over here, I've got a commercial kitchen, and this commercial kitchen feeds all my leisure and hospitality guests. What if over here, though, I could chop a part of the building off and put a day nursery in? And that's what I did. I set up Twizzletop's Day Nursery and built a chain of day nurseries, bolting on my day nursery business onto my leisure attraction. Now, I have built some standalone day nurseries, but day nurseries operate a business curve. They're like a hockey stick. They lose money and then they go. Leisure makes money up here and then it dips off and then it needs refurb money. So if that was the graph, years 1 and 2 are very good. And then you level off in year 3, 4 and 5. Then you invest some cash in here and it goes up again. Imagine you've got a theme park. You open the theme park. Everyone loves the theme park, but everyone's been on the roller coaster ride. So you need to put a new ride in to get customers to come back. Now, if we look at the curve for a day nursery, it's very quiet at the beginning, takes time, build up the reputation after 18 months, and then profits go, and it just keeps on going if you've got a good reputation and you've got enough chimney pots around you. We spoke about chimney pots in the video earlier. Imagine if I could amalgamate these two things together. You've got the leisure business, and this leisure business will pay the rent. Remember that? Big overhead costs. It will pay the utilities. This commercial kitchen that's very busy at weekends and school holidays, remember I said that earlier in the video, can also service the day nursery Monday to Friday when leisure's very quiet. And actually putting this together means you just have this much better business model. Day nursery makes 150k, maybe 200k. This over here makes 100k, but the day nursery is really profitable because it doesn't have any rent. It doesn't have any business rates, doesn't have any utilities because the leisure side is already paying for it. And that, my friends, is a really profitable way of solving the problems of models. I try and create this little trick called multiple revenue streams that fold in to existing empire. And other businesses have done this. You know, if you've got Costco, for example, a big business I'm proud of, might do insurance for their customers. Supermarkets are doing pet insurance or set up a bank on the side. Multiple revenue streams that fold into the existing empire. Great news about the leisure business. Can be a great feeder for the day nursery in terms of finding customers. One step further than that, you know, I looked at my day nursery business. I built my indoor play centre. I built the day nursery there. Then I built laser arenas in others, and I actually wanted to do after school education in that building as well. Sweating the overhead, sweating the asset to get more revenue streams from existing empire. And then I also set up a direct debit membership plan where people could pay a monthly fee, £7, £10, £12 a month to come as much as they like. That's a little brief explanation of how I've tweaked the models to make these businesses so much more profitable. Now, the next trick that I've got up my sleeve, which has really exploded the growth of my profitability in my business, is vertical integration, or being in-house wherever possible. Now, I have a quick rule. If we're spending £100,000 or more with a supplier or anything like that, we've got to consider doing that ourselves in-house. If we spend 1 million or more in my businesses with a particular product or service, we need to set up as a business. What does that mean by that? So the teddy bear business that I spoke about and the slime parties at the beginning of the video, we supply all that stuff because we were spending a lot of money on teddy bears, children's arts and crafts. So we set up a business called Teddy-tastic that makes children's arts and crafts, children's party products, children's party bags. We've become a customer of our own business and we now wholesale that out to a mirage of other leisure and hospitality customers. If we are spending over £1 million, then we want to seriously set that up as a big business. So I was spending over £1 million buying food from wholesalers and food services businesses. So I set up my own food services business called Cafe Deli Wholesale. And there's a video there's a video on the channel of describing how I did that. I'll put a little link in the video description of how you can go and see that story. So vertical integration has been very important to me. I want my companies to cash flow my other companies by being their own customers. If we're spending £1 million on food and drink, I want to be the company selling the £1 million worth of food and drink. If we're buying loads of products, I want to set up a company that can do that within our economies of scale to then sell to others. And obviously, I then compress the prices down by having no middlemen so that our businesses survive and make profit. Now, usually companies do this vertical integration stuff when they're a lot bigger, when they're 100, 200, 300 million, if they're a McDonald's or a Weatherspoons or something like that. But I've decided from a very young age that was a very smart thing to do. I import direct from China, India, Turkey. I buy direct from manufacturers so that I can cut out as many middlemen as possible, because all those middlemen are all putting 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40% margins on each round it goes through people. I just want to do it myself. And that prudence, I actually like to call it, we're frugal on costs so we can be generous on investment, is the reason I think we've stayed in the game. Hope you enjoyed this video. I've got a little bonus, a little freebie for you. Every Monday at 7 o'clock, I release the James Sinclair Letter, which is my thoughts and musings from the week before. All the things that have been bothering me, the things that challenge my thinking. It'll land in your inbox and it's absolutely free. You can sign up for the James Sinclair Letter, little email that I think you'll love to start your week for free at jamessinclair.net. There's a link in the video description for it as well. If you're loving the channel, do me a favour, please subscribe to it so we can notify you when we're bringing out great new videos to help grow your business. I'm James, bye-bye.